What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Today I'm going to be giving you guys another episode of Back to Rome. We're going to be talking about the spells. The biggest thing that has changed about Glads right now from previous formats was the limitation of Book of Moon. It was a card that most decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Ran 3 of, and with good reason. It was anti-synchro, stop synchro plays. It protected your monsters from monster effects, from spell and traps like Deep Prison and Bottomless Trap Hole. It also turned off monster effects like Thunder King and Fossil Dyna, and in addition, it put monsters that were big in their most vulnerable position, face down defense, where usually their defense is a lot lower than their attack, so it made them easier to run over. So I'm going to talk to you about a lot of the key cards that you should be using in Glads as far as spells go, and the importance of some of them. We're going to start off with Gladiator Beast Proving Ground, or Gladiator Proving Ground. I wish it was Gladiator Beast Proving Ground. Forbidden Lance, Smashing Ground, Pot of Duality, Monster Reborn, Dark Hole, Book of Moon, and Mystical Space Typhoon to round it off. Probably the simplest two to understand would be Monster Reborn and Dark Hole, because most decks use these. I can think of maybe a couple decks that don't use Monster Reborn, like Gravekeeper and Macro, but that's just because they have no reliance on the graveyard at all. So, most other decks are going to be using this, and this is just in a situation where maybe you don't have the Darius or a Quest, you can just get a Glad back easily. With Dark Hole, maybe a few decks like Six Samurai is a deck that once they get Xian out, they feel like they don't have a usefulness, or Dark Hole loses most of its usefulness because they don't want to kill their Sheen or whatever. But Glads don't synchro. They rarely even contact right now. You're not even going to make hurt that much without Test Tigers. So, Dark Hole is pretty much always going to be a live card. Either your opponent is setting a Raikou or a Hamster or a Spy or whatever. Maybe you don't have the Chariot, you can just Dark Hole it, or you can just get a big monster out of the way without having to use multiple tools or having to summon Laquari and set, Deep Prison or whatever. It just makes it easier to get rid of those. Proving Ground, I like Proving Ground, especially maxed out, because we run a really low monster count. We don't run Test Tigers because they can create bad top decks, and the format has kind of shifted from that. But I also like that it keeps our monster count low, so we don't open with a whole lot of Glads. It also helps when your opponent maybe goes first turn roll a Tribute, they see this and they just get a sad face. So Gladiator Beast Proving, or Gladiator Proving Ground, is definitely a card I think should be maxed, or a minimum of 2. Forbidden Lance, this is probably the biggest addition to the deck in a very long time. This is kind of your pseudo Book of Moon. It's not as good as Book of Moon, obviously, and to be completely honest, I don't even think Forbidden Lance is that good in really any other decks except for Glads, because it gives Glads just a hell of a punch. It saves your Glads from a lot of destruction. Maybe they use Deep Prison or Torrential Tribute, Mirror Force, any of those key destruction cards. You can just chain this onto your Glad, and you save it basically from that. Or it can help you run over synchros and bigger monsters. This is the really, really important part. You have a tagged in Laquari, your opponent attacks with Stardust, you can run it over. It brings those Thunder Kings down to size, and those bigger monsters, those Neos Eliases and shit, down to size. And it can be played in the damage step. And because, the limitations of Honest and Kalut, there aren't that many cards that can really be played in the damage step. So this card just gave the deck an amazing asset. Smashing Ground is obviously pretty good. With the loss of Book of Moon, we needed more cards that could just give us answers to synchros. It's a quick 1-for-1. Glads will take 1-for-1s any day of the week because they can make advantage with their Glads and Chariot, so they don't really need to make advantage off of their spells. Pot of Duality. This is actually a card that you don't even need. I explained this in my other video. It's good first turn. It's good when you summon and your opponent warnings you, or you can't get that attack off. And if you're attacking and you're tagging, you're already winning anyway. So you can even hold this for a couple turns. Mystical Space Typhoon is pretty obvious. It's just pure back row hate. This is one of the cards that really let you control the tempo, because the thing about Gladiator Beasts is you can't bluff against them. I played an X-Saber guy, and he set Gotham's E-Call even though I was controlling his field, which was really stupid, because I can just kind of attack and bestiary all your shit if you're not going to chain, you know what I mean? So it's like lose it or use it. And this just, when your opponent tries to mass set you, this keeps that in check. So, one card that you don't see here is Gladiator Beast Respite. I've never really liked Respite because I've always felt that it doesn't really add much to the deck. Yes, you can use Respite and get rid of, some dead draw Glads in your hand. But if you reduce your monster count, the chances of that happening is very unlikely. And I mean, you can tag out and get a quest and quest it back, but it's just not worth the risk. It's a terrible dead draw if you top deck it, and it adds crazy inconsistency to the deck because it gives you more dead options. I mean, people say, well, if you have 2 Chariot, having 2 Chariot isn't a terrible thing. You know what I mean? I mean, you can just completely lock down cards. So this is the spell portion. Obviously, I'll be talking about matchups and traps and cards that hurt Glads and how we can deal with those in future. But just let me know what you guys think. Maybe I missed some cards, or you can make some suggestions as for what you think could have been in this video, or other spells that you like to tech in your Glads. So until then, guys, thanks for watching.